The mind that refuses to quit cannot be defeated. A quitter never wins and a winner never quits. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. There comes a moment in every life when the world whispers stop. It comes in the silence after rejection, in the echo of an empty bank account, in the collapse of a dream that once felt invincible. Most men bow their heads at that whisper. They call it fate. They call it reality. They call it truth. But the truth is this: the whisper is only a test. The greatest men who ever lived, Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Rockefeller, Disney, heard that same whisper. They faced the same abyss, and while millions surrendered, they stood up, clenched their fists, and declared, "Number, I will not quit." For the world has no weapon more destructive than discouragement, and the human mind has no shield more powerful than persistence. Napoleon Hill revealed this law nearly a century ago: a quitter never wins and a winner never quits. And time has proven him right again and again. You see, the mind that refuses to quit becomes unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because obstacles lose their power. Defeat only exists for the man who accepts it. To the man who does not, defeat is nothing more than a stepping stone. Think of Thomas Edison. 10,000 times he failed to produce a working light bulb. 10,000 times the world mocked him, doubted him, and whispered, "Stop." But Edison's mind was forged of steel. He knew failure was not a tombstone, it was a teacher. And so he persisted, until the night came when darkness bowed to light, and the world was changed forever. This is the law of persistence. This is the spirit of the undefeatable mind. But how does a man build such a mind? How do you become the one who cannot be broken? It begins with belief, not the fragile belief that wavers with circumstance, but the iron conviction that what you imagine with clarity and pursue with faith will eventually become real. Belief is the root. Without it, persistence dies in its infancy. With it, persistence becomes a living fire. Andrew Carnegie, the steel titan, began with nothing. A poor immigrant boy, working for pennies a week. But inside him burned a belief that refused to die. He saw wealth in his mind before it ever appeared in his hands. He saw opportunity in every limitation. And when doors slammed shut, he knocked harder until the doors broke open. Carnegie's fortune was not built merely in furnaces and railroads. It was built in the furnace of his mind, in the railroad of his relentless belief. And you, yes, you listening now, must forge the same belief, because life will slam its doors in your face. Life will mock your efforts. Life will whisper "quit" in every language you understand. And in that moment, the only voice that matters will be your own. Will you bow to the whisper, or will you roar against it? Belief must lead to clarity. A man without direction cannot persist, because persistence without aim is wasted energy. Ford did not simply dream of success. He envisioned a specific mission: an automobile for the common man, a machine that would replace the horse, an invention that would reshape the world. His vision was not vague. It was clear, definite, precise. And because of that clarity, no rejection, no ridicule, no failure could sway him. This is why Napoleon Hill called definiteness of purpose the starting point of all achievement. For with persistence collapses into despair, but with it, persistence becomes the hammer that breaks mountains. Clarity is your compass. It is the reason why, when you are exhausted, when you are bleeding, when your spirit trembles on the edge of surrender, you remember why you began, and that memory revives your fire. Purpose fuels persistence. Belief ignites it. Vision directs it. But discipline carries it. What is discipline if not the daily act of persistence? Discipline is the invisible war you fight every morning against the weaker version of yourself. It is the choice to rise when you want to sleep, to work when you want to rest, to endure when you want to escape. Discipline is persistence, broken down into hours, into minutes, into moments of decision. Walt Disney was told he had no imagination. He was fired from a newspaper job for lacking creativity. His first studio collapsed. He was rejected over 300 times when seeking financing for Disneyland. 300 times the world told him, "Quit." But Disney persisted with discipline. He sketched, he planned, he walked miles, pitching his vision when others would have surrendered. And today, generations live inside his dream. You see, persistence does not guarantee speed. It does not promise comfort, but it guarantees victory to the one who refuses to release his grip. The Roman Empire rose not merely on the strength of its legions, but on the relentless persistence of its vision. Roads carved through mountains, aqueducts stretched across valleys, walls raised against enemies. The Roman Empire rose not merely on the strength of its legions, but on the relentless persistence of its vision. Roads carved through mountains, aqueducts stretched across valleys against enemies. Each stone was laid by men who endured hardship because they believed in something greater than themselves. And that is the final truth of persistence. It is born of obsession. The man who refuses to quit is not merely motivated. He is possessed. His vision burns in his mind in the morning, pounds in his heart at night, and drives him forward through ridicule, through hunger, through failure. He does not chase convenience, he chases destiny. Ask yourself now, what is it that you desire so fiercely that you would suffer for it? What dream is so vital to your spirit that quitting is a fate worse than death? For until you discover that dream, your persistence will falter. But once you find it, your persistence will become unbreakable. Napoleon Hill spent decades interviewing the greatest wealth builders, innovators, and leaders, and he discovered one truth echoed in every story. Success belongs not to the genius, nor the lucky, nor the privileged, but to the man who refuses to quit. The battlefield of life is littered with men of talent who surrendered, men of brilliance who doubted, men of potential who hesitated. But the victors, the legends, the immortals are the ones whose minds could not be broken. So let the world whisper, let it mock you, let it push you down. Rise again. Rise with the persistence of Edison, the belief of Carnegie, the vision of Ford, the discipline of Disney. Rise with the law of Hill echoing in your soul. A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits. Because when your mind refuses to quit, defeat itself bows before you. The world has always bowed to the stubborn mind, the one that will not surrender. Every empire, every invention, every fortune, every revolution was carved by hands that trembled with fatigue, but refused to release their grip. Yet persistence is not merely force. It is not blind resistance to the winds of life. No true persistence is intelligent. It bends without breaking. It adapts without abandoning. It learns from defeat instead of bowing to it. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost the election. He suffered business collapse. He buried the woman he loved. He was mocked, criticized, dismissed as unfit. Any ordinary man would have yielded, but Lincoln did not. He persisted, not stubbornly clinging to failure, but rising wiser each time. His persistence was elastic, stretching, adapting, enduring. And because of it, he became the man who held a fractured nation together, who carved his name into the granite of history. That is the power of persistence, guided by wisdom. It is not just endurance, it is evolution. And here lies the secret. Persistence is not tested in the days of victory. Persistence is forged in the long nights of silence, when nothing seems to work, when your vision is invisible to all but you. Those who quit in that season are erased from history. Those who endure are remembered forever. Consider Henry Ford once more. When he first dreamed of the automobile, he was ridiculed as a fool chasing an impossibility. His early attempts failed. Investors abandoned him. Factories collapsed. Yet Ford persisted. He studied, he learned, he refined it. And in time, he unleashed the Model T, not only transforming transportation, but redefining industry itself. Do you think Ford never doubted? Of course he did. But doubt is not death. Doubt is the fire that tests faith. And Ford's faith burned brighter than his fear. This is the great paradox. Persistence is not glamorous. It is not the thunder of applause, nor the glow of recognition. Persistence is sweat in the dark, the silent struggle against discouragement, the unseen war with yourself. It is choosing discipline over comfort, clarity over confusion, vision over surrender. And yet that hidden war is what produces visible triumph. Every man wants the crown, but few are willing to bear the cross. Yet history proves again and again, the crown is only given to those who refuse to lay the cross down. When Walt Disney stood before bankers, rejected time after time, he carried his vision like a burden. When Edison stumbled through failure after failure, he bore the weight of his dream. When Carnegie clawed his way through poverty, mocked for his ambition, he carried the cross of persistence. And because they carried it, they earned the crown. Now you must ask yourself, what crown are you chasing? What vision burns inside you so fiercely that you will endure humiliation, rejection, hardship, even ridicule, to see it realized? For persistence without vision is torment. But persistence tied to purpose becomes destiny. Purpose is the shield that protects persistence from despair. Without purpose, men crumble at the first sign of resistance. With purpose, men become invincible. Alexander the Great marched his R. Purpose is the shield that protects persistence from despair. Without purpose, men crumble at the first sign of resistance. With purpose, men become invincible. Alexander the Great marched his armies across deserts where men collapsed from thirst, where the sun itself seemed to war against them. But they followed him, not because the journey was easy, but because the purpose was clear. conquest, empire, immortality. Purpose electrifies persistence. Purpose transforms suffering into meaning. Purpose is why mothers endure labor, why soldiers march into battle, why visionaries work through nights of exhaustion. Purpose gives pain a reason, and when pain has a reason, it cannot defeat you. Napoleon Hill taught that every adversity carries within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Most men, when struck by adversity, collapse. They see only the blow, not the seed. But the persistent mind seeks the seed, nurtures it, waters it with faith, and from that seed grows a harvest of triumph. Thomas Edison once said, "I have not faith. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This was not arrogance, it was vision. He understood each failure was not an end, but a seed. And in nurturing those seeds, he produced light for the world. What then is your adversity? What storm has broken against your life? Do not curse it. Do not run from it. Within it lies the seed of greatness, but only persistence will uncover it. Only persistence will coax it to grow. The weak man sees failure as final. The strong man sees it as formative. The undefeatable man sees it as fuel. Look at history's giants. Every single one of them was forged in failure. Carnegie began as a poor factory boy. Ford went bankrupt. Edison stumbled thousands of times. Disney faced ruin. Lincoln lost more battles than he won before his ultimate victory. And Hill himself, before he wrote, "Think and Grow." Rich faced bankruptcy, betrayal, yet from each crucible, persistence birthed greatness. And so it must be with you. Hear me clearly. There is no greatness without suffering. There is no victory without persistence. There is no crown without the cross. If you are to rise, you must embrace this law. You must welcome resistance as proof of your purpose. You must see obstacles not as walls, but as weights training your strength. Do not envy the man who has never suffered. His victories are shallow. His mind is fragile. The first storm will shatter him. But the man who persists through storms, who rises again and again, who refuses to quit, even when the world calls him a fool, that man becomes unbreakable. And unbreakable men reshape the world. So let the trials come. Let the storms howl. Let the world whisper, "Quit." You know now the truth that every whisper is a test, that every defeat is a seed, that every obstacle is an invitation to persistence. The mind that refuses to quit cannot be defeated, not by poverty, not by failure, not by ridicule, not even by time. For such a mind joins the immortal company of those who endured, those who persisted, those who carved their names into eternity. And if you dare, if you persist with purpose, belief, clarity, and discipline, you too will join them. You too will leave behind the mark of the undefeatable. There is a moment in every great life when persistence ceases to be a choice and becomes an instinct. It is no longer a question of, should I continue, but rather, how could I possibly stop? This is the transformation, the shift from effort to obsession, from struggle to inevitability. For the man who refuses to quit is no longer driven by motivation, which fades with time. He is driven by obsession, which consumes him. Motivation is the spark that ignites a dream, but obsession is the fire that devours everything standing in its way. Look to the builders of empires, men who lived in a state of unrelenting fixation. Edison slept only a few hours, his mind haunted by inventions demanding to be born. Ford walked factory floors with relentless intensity, tinkering, adjusting, reshaping, until his vision was manifest. Carnegie's eyes blazed with steel dreams, every waking thought devoted to building an empire of iron and rails. These men did not try. They did not dabble. They lived, breathed, and with their purpose until the world itself bent under their will. That is the essence of persistence. To pursue with such ferocity that quitting becomes unthinkable. To see the dream so vividly that its absence feels like death. You must ask yourself now, are you interested or are you obsessed? Interest dies at the first obstacle. Obsession endures through hell itself. Interest grows weary. Obsession grows stronger in the storm. Walt Disney's obsession was not cartoons, it was imagination itself. When bankrupt, when laughed out of meetings, when mocked for his childish dreams, he did not stop. Why? Because he could not. Disneyland lived inside him with such clarity that its absence suffocated him. You must ask yourself now, are you interested or are you obsessed? Interest dies at the first obstacle. Obsession endures through hell itself. Interest grows weary. Obsession grows stronger in the storm. Walt Disney's obsession was not cartoons, it was imagination itself. When bankrupt, when laughed out of meetings, when mocked for his childish dreams, he did not stop. Why? Because he could not. Disneyland lived inside him with such clarity that its absence suffocated him. That is why he rose again and again until the dream in his mind became the kingdom of fantasy millions would one day walk through. Understand this. The world yields to obsession. It always has. Every great monument, every revolution, every invention was born from a mind so consumed that it would rather die than surrender. But obsession must be disciplined, or it destroys. An undisciplined obsession burns out. A disciplined obsession reshapes the world. Discipline channels the fire. Discipline directs the obsession into daily acts, into deliberate persistence. Without discipline, obsession is madness. With discipline, obsession is genius. Discipline is the law that transforms vision into reality. Andrew Carnegie could not have built his empire through imagination alone. He needed the discipline to manage men, to refine processes, to reinvest profits, to outlast rivals. Edison needed discipline to record experiments, to measure failures, to systematically pursue progress. Even Lincoln, obsessed with preserving the Union, required the discipline of patience, the restraint to wait for the precise moment to strike. And so, the undefeatable mind is not only persistent, not only obsessed, but also disciplined. It rises early, it works tirelessly, it organizes its energy, it resists distraction, it lives in focus. Here lies another secret. The world does not defeat most men, it distracts them. They begin with passion, they begin with fire, but they scatter their energy. They chase every opportunity, every glittering distraction, until their persistence is diluted, their vision blurred. But the undefeatable mind is ruthless. It cuts away distraction. It says no to everything that does not align with its mission. It guards its focus as a king guards his crown. Henry Ford once declared, "Obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goal." That is discipline, to keep your eyes fixed on the goal so fiercely that obstacles become invisible. Now hear me clearly. Persistence is not about stubbornness for its own sake. It is about alignment with destiny. When you refuse to quit, you declare to the universe, "This purpose is mine, this vision is mine, this destiny is mine," and in time, the world must yield. History is proof. The Wright brothers were bicycle mechanics with no formal education in engineering. Experts mocked them, governments ignored them, newspapers ridiculed them, yet they persisted, testing, failing, adjusting, enduring ridicule and crashes. And on that cold December day in Kitty Hawk, while the world slept in ignorance, 2 men conquered the sky. Do you understand the weight of this? Flight, the very dream of gods and angels, was gifted to mankind, not by elites, not by kings, not by scholars, but by 2 persistent men who refused to quit. What, then, is impossible to you if you persist? The truth is this: nothing can stand forever against the will of a mind that will not yield. Armies fall, empires crumble, wealth evaporates, but the persistent mind outlasts them all. Persistence turns time into an ally, adversity into fuel, and defeat into preparation. Napoleon Hill wrote, "Most great people have attained their greatest success just one step beyond their greatest failure. That is not poetry, it is law. Victory waits at the edge of exhaustion. Triumph comes to the man who takes one more step, when every muscle screams to stop, when every voice whispers, 'Quit.' One more step." That is the difference between obscurity and immortality. Think of it. How many men stopped one step away from greatness? How many surrendered at the edge of victory? How many names were lost to history, not because they lacked persistence? You will not be one of them. You will not die nameless in the dust of mediocrity. You will rise, you will persist, you will carry the fire of your vision until the world itself bends. Because you know now that quitting is death. Quitting is surrender. Quitting is to betray your destiny. And the man who betrays his destiny is already defeated. So I say to you, embrace the suffering. Welcome the resistance. Celebrate the obstacles. For each one is proof that your vision is real, that your purpose is alive, that your destiny is worth the fight. And when you feel your strength breaking, when you hear the whisper of defeat, when the world mocks you as a fool, remember Edison in the dark, Ford bankrupt, Disney ridiculed, Lincoln defeated, the Wright brothers ignored. Remember, and when you feel your strength breaking, when you hear the whisper of defeat, when the world mocks you as a fool, remember Edison in the dark, Ford bankrupt, Disney ridiculed, Lincoln defeated, the Wright brothers ignored. Remember that every immortal once walked through fire, and so must you. Persist, persist until the world yields. Persist until your vision breathes. Persist until your purpose roars.